Hello and welcome. In this video I'm going to contrast the importance of confidence versus looks with regard to attracting women. We're drawing particular attention to is there still a place for game in dating in 2021. So a lot of people still hold these red pill ideas which believe that you can build confidence and learn game as a means of attracting women. It is still a viable option. Meanwhile, there is a growing community known as the Blackpill which believes that all of that's rubbish pretty much, and that your looks is your confidence, and looks is plays the largest role with regard to attracting women, with particular attention to the things you can't change, such as your face, your race, your height. So the first thing we're going to establish is how can we measure both looks and game. So I've found the best way to sort of visualize this is with a set of axes. So we've got looks on the bottom and then game on the y-axis. Everyone's heard of the look scale, so I don't really need to explain this too much. It goes from 0 to 10, everyone's aware of it, and we can further divide this into 3 different subcategories. So we have sub 5, so anyone below a 5 out of 10. This is the sort of person that would be considered just conventionally unattractive. And then we have our normie tier guys, just our everyday, average looking person, anyone from about a 5 to 7-ish sort of range. And then we have 8+, which is usually referred to as our Chad zone. These are the men that you're going to see very attractive, model, celebrity tier men. And so everyone's heard of the look scale. What you might not be familiar with is the game scale, which I've coined it. And I just want to make myself clear on one more point. So a lot of the hardcore Blackpill believers will argue that there is no such thing as game, that your looks is your game, that the look scale is the exact same thing as a game scale. But that's not the point of this video. For the sake of this video, we are going to be completely separating the two as 2 separate entities. So there are people with bad game and good game. And the way I would describe this as, so obviously 0 would be somebody who can not really even speak English. And then anything from 1 to 4, so he's going to be a little shaky, a little bit rusty, nervous. Maybe he's stuttering in this conversation a bit, and then if you reach 1 to 2 sort of range, then he might be visibly sweating. So you'd be he shows very obvious visible signs of nervousness. And then I'll just give a 5 as a normal average convo. So nothing special about it, nothing really particularly interesting, but he holds his conversation quite well. But there's nothing particularly special or noteworthy of the conversation. And then anything above that, so 7+, we're gonna this is what I would describe as good game. So this is gonna be a man who's very smooth at talking to someone. He's charming, he's funny, he's confident, dominant. Can he control the conversation? Yes. Take the lead, and is he able to earn the respect of the people surrounding him from the words he's saying? And then obviously just to go even further, a 10 out of 10 game would be somebody who's never puts a foot wrong, so complete perfection in terms of game, every line's a winner. And the way that I'm going to use this chart for visualization purposes is that every single man in the world will appear somewhere on this chart. So the first data point we have here, so this is going to be our average man. He's completely average looks, 5 out of 10, average game. So there's absolutely nothing special or nothing bad about him, just completely average everyday man. And then in this corner we would have somebody who's perfect looking, perfect 10 out of 10 man, who's also got perfect 10 out of 10 game. Somebody in the bottom left corner will be completely subhuman, so he is beyond unattractive, and then he's also got terrible game. So the first thing to note is that the further you are up in this corner of the graph, the more attractive as a man you will be overall. And then somebody up here who's going to have very good game, but he's very unattractive. And then obviously the person over here, perfect looking, but he's got absolutely 0 game at all. And what's interesting is when we start to looking at combinations of both. So in this situation, who would you rather be? So over here we have somebody who's a 3 out of 10, so he's quite unattractive. He's definitely in the bottom half of attractiveness. However, he more than makes up for it with his game. So he's going to be very confident, very funny. Or as opposed to this guy who is very good looking. He's an 8+, easily in the top 10% of attractiveness. However, his game is severely lacking. So he's not able to hold a conversation very well. He messes up on social norms. So just a little introduction, who would you rather be in this sort of situation? Well, let's take a look at what the ideologies have to say. So this is what the red pillars believe. So this line that I've drawn here, view this line as the minimum standards held by most women. So anyone below this line will get rejected. So a 5 out of 10 with 5 out of 10 game will get rejected, and then anyone above the line will get accepted. So he's able to like pass a test pretty much. And so just view this line as like the minimum standards held by most women, and the key word is most women. So I'm not talking about land whales. I'm not talking about women with disabilities. I'm not talking about women in their 50s and 60s. And I'm also not talking about like mega Stacy's either. I'm just talking about your average like kind of woman, the kind of woman that most men will be like comfortable with getting a girlfriend with. So like this is what most women, like the 90% of women will hold standards towards. So the red pillars will look at the graph like this. So they will say that a man who is below average looking, so he's a 3 out of 10 in looks, but with excellent game, he's 8 out of 10, he will get accepted. Meanwhile, the very good looking man, the 8 out of 10 with bad game, will get rejected. So see what you think of that, if you agree with this graph or not, or you think it will be drawn differently. Now we'll take a look at what the Blackpills have to say. So the Blackpill would put more emphasis on looks, so the line would be drawn somewhere around here. So in this case, the 3 out of 10 man with 8 out of 10 game will get rejected. Meanwhile, the 8 out of 10 man with looks, with only 3 out of 10 game, so he's like not very confident at all, he'll get accepted. So just from those two graphs, like try and get a picture of what you believe, if you agree with the first one, which put more emphasis on game, or if you agree with the Blackpill idea, which puts more emphasis on looks. So just like as a side-by-side analysis, if we look at the red pill, the focus is clearly on game. So no man is too ugly to succeed at all. So as long as you are an 8 out of 10 in game or above, it doesn't matter how ugly you are still able to like attract women pretty much. Looks play a part, but are seen as a bonus. So even red pillars will admit that better looking people will have an easier time, but they won't have much of a better time. So a 3 out of 10 man will need roughly 7 points worth of game, meanwhile an 8 out of 10 will need roughly 6 points. So like the 8 out of 10 like has a bonus, but it's not really like the be all and end all. Like they're still on a fairly level playing field. And note like the cutoff. Even if you're a 10 out of 10, if you have below 5 points in game, it doesn't matter who you are, then you're going to get rejected. So that's what the red pillars believe. And now let's have a look at the black pill. Well, quite evidently, the focus is on looks here. So Chad, any 8+ man, will need no game to succeed. So if you're a 9 out of 10 man, you can speak 5 words of English and you'll still get accepted by women. They will still want to go for you. Meanwhile, game is irrelevant, seen as irrelevant for sub-5s. So if you're a sub-5, it doesn't matter how much game you have, because you're going to get rejected anyway. Like you've been rejected before you've even like been given an interview. Like as soon as a girl has seen your face, then she's going to reject you at all. So it doesn't matter if you have the best game in the world. If you're a 3 out of 10, then you've already been rejected before you've even approached her. And the last thing to note is game can push normies over the edge. So if you're a 6 out of 10 with 4 out of 10 game, if you increase your game to roughly a 7 and 8, then you'll be able to get accepted by women. So that's like this point summed up as a whole. So like try and get an idea of what you believe in, if you believe more in this like red pill idea of game being more important, or if you favour more inside of the black pill, which puts more of the emphasis on looks, or if you have like some sort of combination in between. So if you believe the line would look more like this, so you need like both a mixture of both game and looks, not one or the other. Or if you want to go a step further, even further than the black pill or further than the red pill, so if you think that looks is like even more strict, like game plays an even less importance, then the line will be near vertical. So game has like no relevance. Like if you drew the line vertically at a 7, then you're saying that anyone below a 7 is automatically going to get rejected. He's rejected before he's been approached. It doesn't matter about game at that point. So just like get an idea about how you would see yourself like drawing this line. So that's the first thing. The importance of game will also depend on your environment. So in my first 2 videos, I talked about how the level of game is dependent on the environment you're in. So obviously in an online dating environment, the emphasis is by and large heavily going to be placed on your looks, which I've attributed 90% of the interaction to. So it's mostly about your photos, like they're the first thing that she sees, and then if your photos are bad, you're going to get swiped left. And then all of the other stuff, like such as your game, like I've put like 10% to, so that's going to be your bio, your texting, like that's going to make up all the other stuff. But by and large, I'm sure we can all agree that for online dating, looks will play the biggest role. Meanwhile, for cold approach, obviously looks is still like going to be a very, very big factor. Like, these are people that you've never seen before. You're just approaching them in a bar, in a pub, or in the street. And then game is also going to play a much larger role than in the online environment, because like you need to make them laugh. You need to show that like you're a confident, charming man. So going back to the graph, if we take a look at online dating, this is what I think the line would look like for this environment. So it's very, very steep. The emphasis is like very heavily placed on looks. So like anyone who's ever been on online dating will know how harsh it is for the average looking man, or if you're below average looking, that you will literally get 0 matches. Meanwhile, for 8+ men, you are just swamped with options. There is absolutely no shortage. So, and that is because the reality of online dating is because the emphasis is very heavily placed on your looks, and that's why we see like such a steep drop off. That anyone who's at least a 7 or below is going to get 0 matches. Well, quality matches. You still might get the occasional land whale or woman over 40, but even then, like, they're going to be very, very scarce. Like, and I don't need to go in depth about this, but like, he's just providing a few examples of how little relevance game plays. So the example I provided here, I'm not going to read it out, but it just shows that like a man can outright insult a woman, show 0 social awareness, no respect, no respect for societal norms at all, and just outright insulting him. So if you're not aware of the term chadfishing, it's when a man uses the photos of a model to create a fake Tinder profile, and then just to test out like how much easier it is for good-looking men as opposed to your average-looking or below, and the results are astounding. Like, you see examples like this all the time about just how ridiculously easy plus men will have it on online dating. So, I'm sure most people will agree that game is irrelevant for online. Like, it's obvious. Like, but how about the cold approach? As I stated earlier, that in the cold approach, game played like obviously much more importance. I gave it 30%, with looks having 60, so it's going to be a lot more important in the cold approach. So this is the line that I came up with for the cold approach, and let me explain this. So if you're a 6 out of 10 man, just a normie, you'll need like 8 points of game to push you over the threshold, and a 7 out of 10 man will need 6 points. So for every 1 point that you drop in looks, you need 2 points worth of game to match up with it. So if these two people were in a bar setting, I would put them like on level terms. They both have an equal chance. So obviously this guy is slightly worse looking, but he makes up for it with the fact that he's got 2 points of extra game. Like, he's just going to have that extra security, extra confidence. Going to be a bit more funny. He's going to get like more attention. But overall, like, I would say they're on level terms. But this sort of person will be like your Austin Summers like sort of guy, and I know a lot of you are going to be in the comments already saying, oh yeah, you can't trust PUAs, but I've watched his videos, like his infields, extensively. I do think he is one of the few legit PUAs, and he would be considered in this 5 to 7 normie range, but because he makes up for it with his game so much, like I'd give his game like an 8 or a 9 out of 10, then he is still able to attract like a plethora of women. Like, he still has a thrilling sex life, and he has no issues at all. And then moving on to our 8s and 9s. So if you're an 8 or a 9, this is the point where you start to get away with stuff. So an 8 will only need 4 points of game. That is below average combo. So he will be able to get away with going against societal norms and like showing a little bit of lack of social awareness. Meanwhile, a 9 out of 10, like, he will be like very shaky, like he will be visibly sweating, and he can still get away with it in a cold environment just because he is that good looking. And then obviously, like, on each extreme, so if you're a 5 out of 10, if you want to attract women via the cold approach, then you are going to need like 10 out of 10 rock solid game. Like, this is the point like where you're getting shit tested left, right and centre by women, so you need like every single thing needs to be perfect for you, every joke needs to be a winner, like, and then as soon as you have one slip up, then that's your chance gone. And I'm sure most people who are in that like 5 out of 10 range, like, they can affirm like this is true. And then just on this extreme, we have the 10 out of 10 man with looks, and he needs absolutely no game because he's just that good looking. Like, he's already won the test at that point. He can speak 5 words of English, like, and it doesn't matter because he's still going to attract women. So if we look at a side-by-side analysis again, and compare online dating compared to the cold approach. So obviously for online dating, like, the line is very steep. So the focus is heavily on looks. and it is a complete waste of time if you are average looking or below. Like, you wouldn't even bother trying. You're just going to get 0 matches at all. And 8+ men, this is interesting to note, gets away with 0 game. You can show literally 0 social awareness and still be able to get results and meet up with plenty of women. As opposed to the cold approach, the focus is still on looks. So no man below a 5 out of 10 will get accepted. It doesn't matter if we gave him 10 points worth of game. The focus is still on looks. However, the line isn't as steep and game becomes more important. So if you're a 6 out of 10 and you have average game, if you moved it up to a 9, then you can get accepted. If you did that with online dating, it wouldn't make a difference. You're still going to get rejected no matter how good your game is. So every 1 point in looks that you drop, you need 2 points of game to make up for it. So an 8 out of 10 only needs 4 points worth of game, and then he drops down to a 7, then he's going to need to make up for it by getting those extra 2 points up to a 6. And as stated already, it is a complete waste of time if you're a sub 5. So if you're a 3 out of 10, it doesn't matter if you had the best game in the world, because you're already rejected at that point before you even showed up. And as soon as the woman's seen your face, then you're already going to get rejected. It doesn't matter if you have the best game in the world, because you're not going to be able to use it anyway. Game can heavily boost your chances if you're a 5 to 7 man, and then 8+ will be able to get away with very, very little game. So now we're going to go over into an analysis of different scenarios with some examples to go with it. So when is game beneficial? So if we picture this is in a bar setting, and we have these two guys, they're both sitting at the same table. So we have a 6 out of 10 man with 8 out of 10 game, and we have a 7 out of 10 man with he's just an average sort of combo. Who wins out of these two men? Who would you say would do better? I would argue that this man would do much better, because he just has that much more depth to his game. So he's going to be a lot more charming. He's going to be so much more confident, funny, and he's going to be able to control the conversation just a lot more. So if these two people were sitting at a table, more attention would be given to this man. Absolutely. So the main thing to take away from this entire slide and the whole video, perhaps, is that a 6 can 100% mog a 7 if he has better game than him. However, and that is a big however, if we change the scenario to a 6 out of 10 man with 8 out of 10 game, but we then make the 7 and we turn him into an 8, I would say 100% that this guy would win in this scenario. Because if these two people were sitting at the same table and there was a few girls on it, this guy, yeah, of course, he's going to be controlling the conversation. He's going to be doing most of the talking. He's going to be the one making them laugh. But I would still say that this man, girls are going to be drawing attention to him, and they're going to be like, who's this guy? Why isn't he saying anything? He's turns into this mysterious man that they want to find more information about. Look at the subtle difference. It's only 2 points of attractiveness, but I would still say that the 8 out of 10 man would be the victor in this scenario. So pretty much the point is that game is beneficial if you are both on a similar looks level. So if you're with a group of friends and you're all in that 5 to 7 sort of range, the limiting factor, the determining factor of who wins and who is the superior man will become your game. Will be down to your game. So if you're all in that 5 to 7 range, and then you're all average convo, if you're the man who stands out and you're able to control the conversation, you're the most funny person there, then that will set you apart from the rest, and that will lead you to more success, and you'll be able to get accepted. The next point is, when will learning game work? So let's take this guy. So he's a 6 out of 10 and he's just a completely normal average conversation. He's going to get rejected at the moment. There's nothing stand out about him. There's plenty of guys like him. There's nothing special. However, if we boost him up and we give him 3 points worth of game, in this case, then I would say that he's going to get accepted in a cold environment, because he's just going to be so much more confident. And if you don't believe me, this is what I've seen from my experiences. I know plenty of what would be considered 5 to 7 normie guys, and because their game is so good, it more than makes up for their somewhat lack in the looks department. So when won't learning game work? Well, if we take this man, he's a 3 out of 10 with a 5 out of 10 average convo again. Learning game won't work for him. Even if we gave him an 8, even if we gave him a 10 out of 10 game, it doesn't matter. He's still going to get rejected, because the game is finished. The interaction's finished before he's even approached the girl, because she's taken one look at him, and he's already been rejected in that case, because she is repulsed. And in fact, in some respects, For this man, like, learning game will only ever make things worse for him, because he's delusional at this point. Like, what gives him the right to be that confident if he's got nothing to be confident about? Like, it's just pathetic. It's embarrassing for him. Like, he's just going to come off as a creep. So, like, people often, this is why you often hear the, like, sort of phrases, like, the only thing that distinguishes creepiness and confidence is your look. So if a 8 out of 10 man has confidence, then it comes off as a really good thing. But if a 3 out of 10 man has the same level of confidence, then he just comes off as a creep. Like, what gives him the right to pursue women in that way? Like, he hasn't got any of the goods to back it up. So pretty much game is irrelevant for sub 5s, as he is getting rejected anyway. Like, there's no point having game. Like, there's no point having all of the skills for a job interview if your resume is already been tossed in the trash long before you've even got to the point of the interview. We can delve into this further by dividing the graph into, like, 3 distinct sections. So over here, as already stated, like, we have our sub 5 zone. So this is our incel zone. So no amount of game will save you. It doesn't matter if you have 10 points out of game, like, you're still going to get rejected. This is an important point, that you need to looks max first before you even think about trying to learn game. So if we take a 4 out of 10 man, we boost him up to a 5 or a 6, a 5.5, through, like, soft looks maxing. So he gets a good haircut, he goes to the gym, like, he takes care of himself, and then he maybe also gets a little bit of surgery to boost him up to a 6. And then, like, he has hope. Then he can look at increasing his like, game skills, and then he's going to be able to attract women. So you need to looks max first and learn game second. And pretty much, if you're in this, like, incel zone, like, I just summarised it as it's over for you. Like, there's no amount of work you can put in. Like, even if you do 10,000 approaches, like, you're going to get rejected every single time. Just because women, and they won't even, like, you won't even come close. Like, if you're a 2 out of 10 man and you do that many approaches, like, the approaches will be brutal. They will be, like, disgusting. Like, they will take one look at you and, like, not even consider you as an option. So then we come over to this zone. These, like, this entire triangle here, these are people that get rejected because they lack game. And I'll explain more deeply in a second what I mean by this. And then obviously, like, the further you get into this, like, zone, the better it is for you. So you either have very good game or you're also very good looking. We can further divide these 2 sections by drawing this line down the middle here. So in this zone, I've described this as normie cells, and you've probably, like, heard of that term before. So these men will get rejected because of a lack of game. And I think this is perhaps the main reason why there is so much of, like, a great divide between incels and normie cells, and why incels, who, like, are the hardcore blackpillers, like, always tell normie cells, like, they do not get it, they do not understand. Because if you're a normie cell, by definition, it is your own fault. And the black pill is almost like cope for you, and you end up blaming women for your lack of success, because there is hope. If you're a 5 out of 10 man to a 7.5, then it is nobody else's fault but yourself. You only got yourself to blame for not being able to attract women, because you could easily learn game. Like, you have the potential, it is there. Anyone can learn game, and you could be able to attract women. But the difference between normies and incels is that incels, even if they put in, like, thousands of hours, thousands of approaches, it would still be no hope for them. Even if they had the best game in the world, it's just not going to work. So like, that is a contrast between, like, incels and normie cells. We then come on to, like, this section here. So this is what, like, I would refer to as, like, the PUA zone. And yes, I already stated earlier, like, a lot of people don't trust PUAs, but believe me, I've been through enough experiences to know that 5 to 7.5s can definitely succeed in a cold approach if they have the right amount of game. So this sort of guy will rely on his game to be able to attract women. So he's not the best looking person, but he's still able to, like, attract many women, like, through having, like, this, like, very superior game. And then in this section down at the bottom here, like, I can't think of any other words to describe it as other than just chads with autism. Like, God forbid if you're in this zone. I got a feeling a lot of people won't believe that these people exist, but believe me, I know at least one person who I would say falls into this category. So he is like a 8+ kind of man, but just because his game is just awful, that he just has no hope in a cold approach. Like, he is, like, visibly sweating when he approaches women, and, like, they will like him at first, but after 5 minutes, like, any chance that he had has been completely killed just because his, like, sheer lack of game at that point. And then obviously in this point, like this zone here, we don't need to go in depth about this, but he like mainly relies on his looks. So even a Chad, like even like if you take a 9 out of 10 man, even if he has 3 out of 10 game, like he is very nervous, very shaky, he's still able to attract women. So game isn't really needed. You only need like a certain level, but even then it's like not that important. So now I'm just going to summarise all of the points with a little look into the future. So this is the graph that we drew for 2021. So obviously the like emphasis is on looks, like, and still only a very like small percentage of men are going to be like into this category and get accepted. However, the way I see things changing into the future for like roughly the years 2030 to 2040, that the line of acceptance will get even steeper. So it will become even more based on looks, and game will become less relevant, and there will be an even narrower window of like men getting accepted. Sub 6 will eventually become the new sub 5, and then it will eventually become sub 7. So anyone normie tier or below will eventually be swallowed up by like this incel like movement, pretty much. So even if you're a 6 out of 10 and you have perfect game, it's not going to make a difference, because you're literally in the same basket as everyone else. So the main takeaway from this, I would say, if you're looking into the future, is that it won't cut it anymore to be average looking with good pickup skills. PUA will become a thing of the past, and only the top percentage of men will be able to get accepted, and the Blackpill will pretty much become the future, and it already is. As I say, things will only ever get worse.